tell me that you got life and you don't have purpose? You're tripping. You got purpose. You're going to get something out of that pain. I tell people all the time, especially people who have been through stuff, you mean to tell me you went through all of that and you're just going to wallow? You mean to tell me that you went through all of that and you're just going to coast? You mean to tell me you went through all of that and you're not going to get nothing out of your pain? No! If you go through all of that, you better get something out of your pain. You didn't go through nights wanting to quit, throwing the towel, doubting yourself, not knowing if you can provide for your family. You ain't go through all of that to quit.
Real vibes, real shit, real stories. Come get a bite at the Lunch Meat Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Lunch Meat Podcast by the way of Ron Rich's TV. Today on the show, we always talk about great, phenomenal people, the successful people in the world. You don't see the success and grind, but you never see their come up, how they got there, and how they even evolved to the evolution of life for themselves as a whole. Today we have one of the best speaking coaches, life coaches, tech talk speakers. Oh, he's on the level of ET, or getting there. Mr. Darryll Stinson. Yes.
I was waiting for the smoke and the music, and the lights and the cameras. You feel me, bro? What's poppin', man?
What's good, man? So on the show, Daryll, man, we always talk to great people, doctors, book writers, authors, artists, musicians, all the best CEOs in the world. But some people, they see their success, but they never know their story and their background, how they got there. Right. So when someone watches someone like on stage or on TV, they wonder why. Like, I wonder if that person relates to me somehow. I wonder if I can get there one day. So that's what we discovered. Yeah. So further ado, introduce yourself to a whole entire world.
Yeah. Well, what's up, world? My name is Darryll Stinson. As my boy just mentioned, I'm a speaker, man. I'm originally from Jackson, Michigan. Grew up, born and raised there. Played Division I sports at Central Michigan University. Had an opportunity to win a championship there, so fire up chips to that.
Yeah.
And had a phenomenal experience, man. And went through a dark season. I'm sure we probably get into that a little later.
Right.
But ultimately, man, have been able to become a successful speaker and a speaker coach because I just believe in the power of your voice,
right,
and creating influence and change. And I think about times where, I was going through depression, and a lot of people, they'll turn to, music, and they'll turn to YouTube, and they'll listen to speakers like the Les Brown and Eric Thomas you mentioned,
right,
to get motivated to keep going on, And so I'm now one of those voices, and that's just like crazy to me. And so I believe that everyone has a story to share. And I know what it's like to not like your own voice and be insecure and
right,
not know how to put two sentences together, but I know what it's like to have a good speech up here, but not have it actually come out your mouth. Mm-hmm. And that was my journey, man. And now I'm getting a little bit better.
Okay, so on the show we like to start off at the beginning.
Okay.
The blueprint. Childhood.
Okay.
It's very important. You probably read the book, The 7-Star Prophecy, or heard about it.
I haven't.
So make sure you read a book afterwards.
Okay.
So this is very important how your mom, your dad got together and why the purpose why they got together and created you.
Okay.
So once you figure out that, you'll be blown. Yeah, you'll be blown. Like, why did they get together? Why am I here? Yeah. So your childhood, how was it growing up for you?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like it was like a lot of people, man. My mom. I have an older brother. He passed away after he was born, probably a couple of days. He had an asthma attack.
Oh, wow, that's a baby.
A baby.
Wow.
A baby. Had an asthma attack, and that was it, man. So she never got to leave the hospital. And she was a junior in high school at the time. So that devastated her. You gotta think, she's 16, 17 years old, just lost a baby, that she got to see. That's just crazy. And so that set her back, man. And she was on a mission to just try to get pregnant, right, to fill that hole. And my dad had went to college. He went to CMU too. And so, long story short, my mom ended up, getting pregnant again. And that's how I came into the world a year after my brother. And I was kind of just like she clung to me hard, right, because I was what she lost. And I was baby boy. She's a senior in high school. And my dad was in college, so I kind of grew up kind of first couple of years. You know, my dad was like really focused on football because he was a star athlete as well.
Oh, wow.
And then my mom was trying to pay for school and babysit, and she was trying to figure out life. My mom was actually a lot smarter than my dad, but she was taking care of me. So
wow, okay.
That was kind of like the start, you know?
Right.
And the story that I tell in my TEDx talk that was kind of pivotal for me is my mom put me in accelerated learning classes because she saw that I was a real smart kid.
Well, how did she notice that?
And you know, I never really asked her, but she just always knew. My mom just said she always knew it was something different about me. You know, there's something different about each kid.
Correct.
And for me, it was like, man, he's got to be special. It's just something about the mama's intuition, I guess.
Right.
And so, I mean, granted, I passed the test because you had to take a little test to get in the accelerated classes. So I passed it, and was like one of the smartest kids in the class. You know, I always tell people like where I'm from. When you're in an accelerated learning class, you like one or two black students in an all-white class.
Wow.
So it's me and another dude, and it wasn't a bad thing. You know, they was cheating off my tests. They was laughing at my jokes. They called me goon. I was like this big, goofy, skinny, goony guy, you know. And man, I thought at that time I had a high self-esteem. I thought that since they liked me, everybody must like me.
Wow.
You know? Okay. And so one day I'm walking back from class on the bathroom break, and I got the little nasty wooden bathroom pass in my hand. I don't know why they do that.
Oh,
the little wooden
hall pass.
Hall pass. You know?
Yeah.
You know, and I see a group of black students. They all huddled up and they cracking jokes or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get in on this. You know, like, what's up? So I walk over to them. I'm like, yo, what's so funny? Nobody answered. I'm like, man, I know they heard me. I'm like, what y'all over there laughing about? And just as soon as I was finishing that sentence, one of the boys turned to me and said, yours was funny, white boy. I was like, they all busted up laughing. I had no clue what they was talking about.
Wow.
So I go ask some people, you know, why do you call me a white boy when I clearly, you know, what's so funny? I'm in third grade, bro. Right. And so they said, well, you know, everybody in school called you that. And I'm like, no.
So they had a whole thing going on.
The whole thing, because it sowed this seed of who I am authentically isn't enough to be liked or loved by other people. You know, I started to question what's wrong with me. And, you know, fast forward around the 7th grade, I had a cousin, his name's Chaz. Yeah. He's my first cousin. His mother, my auntie, got shot and killed in broad daylight.
Wow.
She was in a relationship with a woman. That girl didn't like that. She broke up with that relationship, and the girl didn't like it very much. Hid behind some bushes. My aunt was coming back from the grocery store, and then shot and killed her. You know, my cousin saw her take her last breath. So that was devastating.
Michigan is.
You know what
I'm saying?
I mean, it's like that for a lot of places, you know. But the thing about Chaz is, go ahead, man. Yeah,
are you good?
So the thing about Chaz is, I looked up to him. He was everything I wanted to be. He was already in the black community. At that time, he was already skipping school, selling drugs. Yeah. You know, had the street cred, had the swag. I had no fashion. Chaz had a little swag. You know, Chaz was broke, but he knew how to make, you know, little stuff go far.
Correct.
You feel me? And so he had.
You're good, man.
So he knew how to make little stuff go far.
Right.
And so he would take a plain white tee and just, you know, and back then that was kind of the thing anyways. But what happened is he came and moved in with me, and that brought all his friend circle around me.
Wow. Okay.
And basically, to make a long story short, you know, I had to choose between them friend groups. You know, because it wasn't gonna work. You know, they were still making fun of me for, you know, when I would go to a bonfire party or something like that.
Yeah, I see that.
You know what I'm saying? It's like bonfire, basement, you know?
Yeah. Or you be with Outcast in a dungeon, or you can be with, you know, NSYNC.
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
you know,
I see it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. That wasn't cool. So, you know, and I was sloppy. You know, like I ain't have, you know, a lot of white people that I grew up around, they didn't care, you know.
Right.
They wear whatever, you know, shorts all up here. And that was back then when you wore small clothes. clothes. Like now tight is kind of the thing.
Yeah,
you know, skinny jeans. But if you done that, man, you know that was when you sag. You had the 4H tees.
Right.
So you know, if I had on a tee that fit, you know, you was lame, which is just so crazy.
It was lame, or either it was kind of fruity.
Either.
Yeah.
Right. And so, anyways, man, long story short, I changed everything about myself to fit in with this black community.
Right.
And I changed the way I talk, the music I listen to, the way that I laugh. You know, I changed everything, man.
So you went from listen to what music to what music?
You know, I had always listened to rap.
Right.
But it was the level and now I had to listen to, you know, a more hardcore rap that was local rappers talking about shooting.
Correct.
You know, I always liked rap, but it was the type of rap. Now I had to listen to all the stuff, and then what I rapped about. Right. So when we freestyling, I might just clown, you know, flex a little bit, but then now it's about killing and selling. You know, so and you know, people be acting, bro, but nevertheless, man, it worked. You know, they embraced me. I got my street cred. You know, ultimately led to a whole other story, but man, that was a real pivot point for me because I lost myself. You know, and the thing is, although they accepted me, and that's what I wanted, deep down inside, I knew it wasn't me who they was accepting. It was who I was pretending to be. And this is one thing I learned, man. Peer pressure is like one of the most dangerous things growing up for anybody, right? Because you think about it, is you lose sight of self trying to fit in with other people who are not even being themselves. And I didn't really notice this until retrospect. You get to the end of the story and I'm looking back and I'm like, man, I see what the game was. Their rejection of me was actually a projection of their own inward insecurities.
Wow.
Watch this.
Okay.
They didn't know how to be them unique selves, right? They wouldn't do anything outside of what was normal or popular, right? They wouldn't be like, yo, I ain't finna go to the party, I gotta study. They're not gonna be like, yo, I ain't gonna serve the fiend because, you know, that ain't right. They wouldn't do that. They didn't have the courage to do that. I did. I was different. And so, therefore, they made fun of me and got me to conform to them when really deep down they was trying to be like me. And I didn't know that as a kid.
So, you know, because everybody had those friends.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Do you really think they want to be better?
Absolutely. Everybody wants to be better. No one wants to go first.
Because they don't want to seem like a sellout.
The sellout. You ever heard of crabs in a barrel example?
Yes.
That's what it is. You know, and because oftentimes in minority communities, someone else's success in the area that the community doesn't agree with is not evidence of their success. It's a reminder of the person's failure. You see what I'm saying? And so when you succeed, that means you're telling me it's possible, right? But if none of us succeed, it's just not possible.
Ooh, so you're gonna just hold that person down?
Just hold them down.
Do you think that's why when rappers, right? It's in rappers' perspective, it could be anybody, doctors, anybody, want to go back to their hood or community, try to give back and try to show people the way out? You think that's why they're hated upon, or even most of the time get shot?
No. Here's my theory.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. What does that happen in some cases? I'm sure.
Right.
But you know what I really think it is? I think it's that rappers never start rapping about the lifestyle that they actually live. They still rap about the lifestyle that they live, and therefore they end up being a product of what they rap about.
Speaking words to existence, right?
Yeah. And you're still perpetuating that narrative. So I told this the other day, and I like Jay-Z. Okay. But I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, Jay-Z, I don't follow a lot of that anymore. You probably know better than I, but he did a music video or whatever. He was in the club, you know, flat, he in VIP doing this. And I was like, dude, do you understand he's 50? Do you understand that? And I'm like, he's not doing that anymore. There's no way. Like, do you go to a club and see a 50-year-old man acting like he's 20? He's not doing it. It's for the music video. But did he do it back in the day? I'm sure he did, but he's not doing it now. Right. So don't be surprised if you get caught up in some mess because you still acting like you're 20. So if you rap about the fact that you being a dad now, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you rap about the fact that you know, you got kids, you got a wife. You probably barbecuing in the backyard.
Right.
You know, your personal assistant. You know, like rap about what you actually do. You was playing spades, not at the club.
Right.
You know, and if you did that, less people will think that you still over here running the streets. You see what I'm saying? Now, certain people, if that's their reality, that's their reality. I don't agree with it. But at least be authentic. So Gucci, you know, that's why the Gucci and Jeezy battle.
That versus battle was real. It was felt.
But you saw what I'm talking about.
Right.
Jeezy had a mature perspective. Jeezy was like, yo, I'm not
on it no more.
I'm doing this for the community. I'm not on that no more.
Right.
Gucci was on that. Gucci was like,
It was like that, yeah, that's what he shot your homie. Jeezy like, bruh.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Why we still doing this? Is it like 15 years?
So everybody from the hood is all wild up.
Right.
Because they're like, see, yeah, nah. And it's like, bro, come on, bro.
Right.
Get off of that. Because that's the same stuff that keep our community stuck. And Jeezy recognized that in retrospect. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I agree with everything he rap about, but I saw a maturity and an evolution. So that's my theory around why rappers end up being killed from their own neighborhood. It's because they still rapping like they're running the streets and they're not.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep, man. It's the Sinister Prophecy. Read that book. All right, so we went from your childhood to your building block.
Yeah.
Now you're in high school, right?
Yeah.
Your sport football came along.
Yeah.
How did you start getting involved in football?
I was always playing sports since I was a kid, man. I was tall, so it was like, you gotta play something, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's either rapping or athletics, man. And
Right.
I come from a family of athletes, so for me, I was gonna do both, honestly. I was like, I'm gonna rap and I'm gonna play sports. I can't lose. You feel me? I gotta do both. And I just got really good. Once my height or my athleticism caught up with my height, then it was game over after that point, you know, because I was always like competitive because I was just tall. But then that athleticism caught up and it was a beast. And so, you know, started being very competitive. AAU basketball was helpful. Went to Central Michigan actually to play both. That's why I chose CMU. I was going to play basketball and football.
Wow.
But I ended up playing my freshman year in football. They thought they was going to redshirt me. So they didn't let me play basketball anymore. And, you know, I'll never forget, it was a coach by the name of Steve Strickland. He worked with a lot of NFL athletes. He's an OG in the college athletic space. A lot of people don't know about him from a consumer perspective.
Correct.
But a lot of college just know about him in NFL teams because he's like that dude. So I never forget him looking me in the eye. He said, man, it's not a matter of if you're going to go to the NFL. It's just a matter of when. Which is a big statement for a defensive lineman because a lot of defensive linemen don't even leave early. Right. They're like, yo, you can leave early, bro. Like, you got it. I was like, dang. So, you know, I was going to make it. But one day I'm in the weight room and I'm squatting. I'm trying to impress everybody how strong I am. And then I wasn't supposed to be squatting because I had some slight herniation. Came up the wrong way. Felt something was wrong. But I didn't know the difference between being hurt and being injured. So I played on, you know, if you hurt, you can play through it. If you're injured, you need to
sit your ass.
Exactly.
Sit your ass.
And I did not do that, you know. and you watch the stories, Michael Jordan playing with the flu,
right?
You know, all that stuff you see. So I'm like, okay. So I played through this for months. And then one day I looked, and then, you know, I was looking at my legs and everything, like admiring my muscular build. And I did like this, and I'm like, this is kind of soft, bro. And I smacked it, and that thing jiggled like no muscle. And I was like, ooh.
After you squatted?
This was months after. After the injury. Come to find out, so I got an MRI. I had a pinched nerve. The pinched nerve was causing atrophy in my left leg, and it was going to go paralyzed unless I had surgery. So I had the MRI on Friday. The doctor was booked for 6 months in advance, named Dr. Shell out of Saginaw. He came in on a weekend and did my surgery. That weekend. That's how urgent it was. Wow. So it was a blessing that I ended up getting it done. So, you know, sum the story up. I get the surgery. I'm not supposed to come back. Coach is like, you need to focus on football. You can come around whenever you want. You need to focus on your education. You can come around football whenever you want. And we'll still honor your scholarship. So I had...
That's a good thing to have.
You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes they'll just snatch it away.
Right. But when your identity is attached to your activity, you make poor decisions. And so my identity was in the sport. Right. Without it, there was really no me in my mind.
And it's like that for a lot of people, even though the street conversation we have, our identity is attached to an ego, personality. Right? So I'm known as the street person. I'm known as the thug. I'm known as the shooter. You know, a lot of people got type of trigger names and stuff, you know. A couple of homeboys, trigger finger. Like, you the trigger dude, you know? And you attach to that so much so that even at your expense, you will buy into that identity. You feel me? Because that's, in your mind, that's more important than you. Right? Because it is you, right? And so that's what I did. So I signed a liability waiver, begged the coaches to let me come on the team. And then the way I always described the story is I wasn't supposed to walk more than a mile within 6 months after my back surgery. I ended up starting within 6 months. So that fast track experience, which some of it was discipline, a lot of it was that I got epidural shots in my back, nerve killings. I was lying to the healthcare system, getting anything done to numb that pain. And then I just wasn't all the way healed.
But we mousing it.
You feel me? But me hurt was better than the next guy fully healthy.
Man, yeah, that's...
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so we need you. And so, and then I was good at masking it, you know? Because all I had to do was outperform the man in front of me. If I did that, nobody really gonna mess with me. But if I started losing, getting my butt kicked, they're like, son. You know, but when you like, okay, give me these guys, you know. So man, for 2 years, dude, my life was just out of control. I had to pay for my medical expenses out of pocket because if the university paid for it, that made them liable for my injury. And my personal insurance was trash. So they couldn't afford it. So when you ever seen a medical bill?
Nah. To be honest, no.
Oh my gosh. It's expensive. If you go get a checkup, it's a couple hundred. If you go get a surgery, you're talking 10, 20,000.
Shout out to the military for taking care of me. Thank you so much. I never had to see the bill in my life. Thank you so much.
Insurance,
oh my God.
Yes.
Wow.
Right. That stuff is crazy, bro. So check this out. When you need money and you're from the hood, what you do? You sell. So, and I already was selling a little bit, but nothing serious. Then I had to get serious. So I ended up getting, you know, it's so funny, you know, they say sin always keeps you longer than you want to stay and takes you further than you wanted to go. And that was kind of how it was. I just wanted to pay my medical bills. But then I got connected with the plug. Like not the plug from the hood, I'm talking about the plug that the white people had. The plug, you feel me? And he was in an international operation. I got involved in that. I became a distribution center. Started selling drugs all throughout the state of Michigan. And my life was like that for 2 years. I'm going from practices to drug transactions to film sessions to games to classes to selling more drugs. And that was just my life like that. And then finally, I was taking so many opioid pills, it was thinning my blood to the point where every time I made contact on the field, my nose would bleed. The coaches, I would just tell the coaches it's allergy, but they was like, something is really wrong. He got this permanent hunch in his back, nose is bleeding, his performance is dropping, and then they're like, no, we can't let, something ain't right, and they kicked me off the team. And that's when I had to face that depression. Woo! Yeah.
So depression?
Yeah.
For people that's going through it right now.
Everybody. No, I'm just kidding.
So everybody got some form of depression.
Yeah.
What is your, I said, get out depression steps you can give to a young person, like most teenagers go through it, to even in adulthood. You know, just some adults don't know themselves. So what's some steps you can give to somebody who has depression?
Man, you know, I don't say this one often because it's a harder one to describe without really being in person, but I'll do my best. Especially for minority communities. You have to feel the emotions. We are masters at avoiding it.
True.
Masters. I don't want to deal with it. You know, I'm just going to throw my headphones on and turn up. Right? I don't want to talk about it. I'm just going to get lit. You feel me? And do that more and more and more and more. And then here's where it really gets dangerous. Because that numbs it. But what starts making our hearts really callous is when we start saying, I don't care. Watch this. You know how many fatherless black people it is?
Yes.
That's a lot, ain't it?
It's like 70% or more.
78.
Ooh. That's a lot.
78%, right? People grow up without an active father in the home. Okay. Ask them what they think about their daddy. I don't care.
Fuck them. That's true. I've been there. I don't
care. I don't want that. You know, whatever. Right. And so they have went from numbing it to completely closing it. Now they really just don't care. The truth of the matter is, you do.
You really inside, you be a kid on the porch crying.
That's why it hurts so bad.
Right.
It hurts so bad you don't want to deal with it. So the first step is to feel it. You gotta process that stuff. Unprocessed pain becomes ill-processed pain. Okay? Which means if you don't process it, you subconsciously start making conclusions that are inaccurate. Dangerous. I don't care is an inaccurate conclusion. Ill-processed. When you process it, you start to figure out, man, you know what? This makes me feel like I can't amount to anything.
Correct.
Man, you know what? This makes me feel like I'm not valuable enough. So if I'm not valuable enough for my dad to stick around for me, then what's the point of making right decisions?
Right.
Then what's the point of taking care of myself? Because I ain't nobody. Your daddy ain't S, you ain't S.
Right.
First step is to feel it. Once you feel it, you gotta talk about it.
It takes a while.
Now, peep game. We don't want to talk about it because we're gonna lose street cred.
You don't want to cry.
You ever heard that all credit is bad credit? That's what people say. It's not true.
Right.
But people say all credit is bad credit, and I'm like, not street credit, bro.
Right.
Not street credit, right? And what they're saying is when you get good credit, you start taking on debts that you can't afford. That's the narrative that they're trying to put, right? But my point is this, man. You got to talk about it, and because we want to protect that ego and protect that street credibility, we don't want to talk about things. We don't. Not only won't we, but we don't even know how. And I didn't realize this till I got married. That's crazy. And this was after I had to turn around everything. But when I got married, everything that me and my wife got into, I was just mad, angry all the time. Like, you did talking to me like that?
Ego.
I'm from Jersey. And the funny thing is, my wife is white, so she's looking at me like, "Oh my God, what did you talk about?"
Right.
But that's how I knew how to react. So I'm trying to communicate something, but I don't have the language to communicate. Okay, I'm gonna give you one thing because we don't got time to do a whole master class.
Right.
I'm gonna give you one thing that will really help a lot of people. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. My feelings is hurt.
Like saying it.
You have to say that.
You hurt my feelings. I just feel like so feminist. Oh, you hurt my feelings. Man.
Dude, what? That's what I'm saying. It's hard to say it now.
It is. It feels like, you know how.
That's why I said Rachel.
It felt like you
because we are clowning for that.
It don't feel masculine.
No, it don't feel tough. It don't feel masculine. Like, and here's what I said. Growing up in the hood is a very traumatic experience. I didn't notice this until I started telling people about how I grew up.
It was like, ooh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, dad wasn't really around. Mom had me because she didn't, trying to heal some other room.
Right.
I was staying with grandma. I ain't really, have a bunch of friends like that. And then I changed my day. I'm like, okay, this was not a good environment. I was, can't walk up certain streets because you never know what's gonna happen. Stay in your little block, and it's like, man, that's not. You grew up in fear, and you had to be tough to survive. But people, when we graduate beyond that, when you get old enough to where you're not in that environment anymore, and you can move out. Or you go to college, or you have a different experience. The problem is that if you do not change your behavior and the rules and systems you live by, you're gonna repeat it no matter where you go. You're always gonna find another hood. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
And so, man, I'm telling people like it was good for your survival Like I couldn't be 14 years old talking about my feelings hurt. They'd have been like, oh yeah? that hurt worse, you know what I'm saying?
Ooh, yeah, I can't.
But I'm not 14 walking the streets fighting for my survival. I'm 30. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With a wife and a kid, and I need to learn that I can't be talking to her like I'm angry when in reality my feelings are hurt.
You don't know how to express that.
I'm not expressing it.
Dang, that makes a lot of sense, man. But
I tell you, the violence rate will go down.
Right.
The death rate will go down if people stop getting mad and start saying my feelings hurt.
But you imagine you in a car. Remember Red off of Friday when Devo took his chain?
Yeah.
His feelings was hurt, so you ran inside. You ran inside his car, started crying in the car. But that's like you probably got to be a Red sometimes. Situations, man. Just go in your car, start crying. Man, my feelings hurt.
But listen to what I'm talking about, though. I thank you for using that because that's not even what I'm talking about. Granted, I don't agree, but what I'm saying is him telling Debo his feelings hurt, bad decision.
Right, horrible.
Him talking to his wife, whole different scenario.
Okay.
His children, whole different scenario.
Same exact thing.
Hey Dad, why you don't come around? Dad, why you come? Man, what, grow up, toughen up, like whatever. I got stuff to do. I'm making this money, whatever. Instead of, I don't know how to be a father. Yeah, there we go.
Will you say period or yet?
Yeah. It's not final. It's not final. Nothing's final. It ain't over till it's over. It's always redemption. It's always hope. It's always opportunities to bounce back and learn from mistakes. So, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Especially with marriage.
Yeah.
Coming from a single family household, you've never seen someone around it that was married, and getting married, trying to learn how to be a husband from having a home-style lifestyle. It's very hard.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
It is.
I didn't talk about that when I was caring for friends. I might even watch just like, what's so terrible about it?
Yes.
But no, it's challenging.
Yeah, it's very challenging.
It is. A lot of people are afraid of commitment. Afraid of commitment.
Wow. Yeah. True. All right, so who am I after sports?
Yeah, man.
Your book.
Yeah.
Talk about why you wanted to write a book.
Yeah.
And what was the purpose for it for the rest of the next 100 years?
Yeah. So I kind of always knew growing up I wanted to be a writer and a speaker. Like when I reflect, that was in my heart, but I conformed. So to rap and athletic, I did want to do sports, right? But so I ended up attempting suicide multiple times. I ended up in psychiatric unit in Detroit, had a life-changing experience there, found hope, started to rebuild my life, okay? And as I'm rebuilding my life, I'm noticing something. I'm getting excited about my future. I'm talking to former teammates, and they're stuck in the past. So I'm like, man, I got this idea, man. I got this talk, I got this business idea.
Right.
And then they like, hey, you remember when we played?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. So I talk about that. I'm like, hey man, so what's up? What you doing? What you working on, bro? And watch this. They'll be like, I'm just trying to make this money. I got this little job. I'm working on this thing, right? But then when they talk about sports, it'd be like this. Yo, remember the energy was way different. And I was like, ooh, they're living their current life as if it's second best to their former life as an athlete. Problem. Because the psychology is that it's all downhill from here. That's no way to live.
Right.
Like, the life is great, and now I guess it's just gotta ride it upside down. That's a terrible way to live. And so I was like, I gotta do something to help. I've done something to get to a place where I believe my future is brighter than my past, and they haven't done that yet. What did I do that they haven't done? And how can I help? And so I just sat down and I started to look at, okay, first, and this is the outline of the book, right? So first I had to accept. I had to accept that the past is over. So this is the 5 stages of grief.
Correct.
Fast track. Okay. How do I go from a loss of something to accepting that it's lost? Okay. Number 2 is I had to believe in a brighter future. Right. I could not live with the belief that, man, my past is way more promising and exciting than my future. So how do I develop the mindset to believe? Because if you can't believe, you won't achieve. Okay. The 3rd is discover. Okay, now I got the hope. I let it go. I got to figure out what it is. So we got to accept, believe, discover. This is all purpose discovery questions. So you talk about Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. You talk about Rick Warren's Purpose-Driven Life. You talk about Simon Sinek's Why. I did all of this research and stuff, and I got to this point where I discovered 22 purpose discovery questions to help you find your unique purpose. So how do you find that? Okay, because I believe that when you find your highest purpose, you'll have your greatest effectiveness. Okay? So we got to accept, believe, discover, then pursue. Now that you discover, you got to go get it. Like, it's one thing to be like, I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. But you got to go actually make it happen. So this is all professional development, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, time management, leadership, all that stuff that you need to have a system of success to help live out your dreams. Okay, right. So you got to accept, believe, discover, pursue, and then the 5th step is persist, because you're going to encounter trials. Correct. Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until you get hit.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was something like that.
Yeah. I'm gonna lose 20 pounds this year.
Right.
I'm tired. My knee hurt. My back was in worse shape than I thought it was.
Right.
Hit. Oh my gosh, man! I'm gonna get out of debt this year. Boom, unexpected bill, car breakdown.
Right.
Hit. So how do you develop a system of self-care so that you don't sacrifice self on the altar of success? So you got accept, believe, discover, pursue, persist, and that's like the core of the book. It's a couple of bonus chapters, but that's the roadmap. And so when I figure out that that's what I've done to get to this place, that's when I put it into the book format and start. And I had some conversations prior to that, talking to people. I was doing some blogs, seeing how people responded, and then the more I was able to articulate it, because the thing is, the hardest thing when you survive something, a lot of people who survive just because of willpower, they don't realize that there was a process in what they did.
True.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so you gotta reflect on that. Okay, what was my process? And then you can sell that process. There's a lot of rappers missing out on how to help people put together music. A lot of producers that's missing out. I'm not talking about teaching you patterns. I'm talking about teaching you how to think. Not teaching you what they did, teaching you how they think.
Wow.
The process. Okay, and you can figure it out when you put yourself back in that moment and go, what thought triggered the behavior? And that's what I did, and then that's why I wrote the book. And it's done well.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to talk about your next ventures, speaking wise?
Sure, man. Yeah. So here's the thing. I want to change the world.
Correct.
Okay. And similar to Eric Thomas, and in fact, I think it may have been Eric Thomas that I got this from.
Right.
I was paying to be a part of one of his inner circle groups.
Correct.
And he was doing some training in person with us at a little breakfast spot.
Shout out to S2L, Secrets to Success,
Yeah.
Jamal,
Yeah.
I think Mike, Eric Thomas, their family, their wives, and everything too as well.
Yeah.
So
Funny story about E.T. wife though. I forget what's her name. I forget her name.
Started D.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
I had never seen her before. I had known E.T. for like 2-3 years.
Correct.
So I was working this Eric Thomas event, and I was security for the event, and I had been in his inner circle for a little minute, so I kind of knew who he was around or whatever. But I had never met Dee Dee, so I didn't know who she was. I didn't even know her name at the time, because it just wasn't somebody who I had knew, because she wasn't always around like that. So I'm working security for an event that he doing, and I'm protecting the VIP section, and people coming in, I'm like, okay, I've seen him before, okay, go ahead, you cool, whatever, let me see your ID, okay, who you know, checking people. So she comes up to me, and she like, can I get in? I'm like, okay, who is you? Sorry, you can't get in here. And then she like, I'm Dee Dee. I'm like, I don't care who Dee Dee is. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Right. I got a couple cousins named Dee Dee too, you feel me? So, what's Dee Dee? And then she like, yo, like, Dee Dee. And I'm like, okay. ID please, and she ended up grabbing one of the homies that was like right behind me. I think his name was Juno, and she grabbed him, and then he came up, and then he was like, "Yo, come on, she cool." And then I still didn't know until I saw her, go over to ET and like hug her up, and then it clicked in my mind. I remember him being like my wife Dee Dee, and I'm like, "Oh snap! I just played his wife." You feel me? And so anyways, man, I heard him speak about winning the Nobel Peace Prize, and it was hearing him talk about it that gave me that same goal. So I have that same goal. And one of the ways that you do that is by impacting a lot of people. A lot of people do it through inventions, and you have something that has mass appeal, influences a lot of lives, you get nominated and you win the Nobel Peace Prize. And so his means of doing that, speaking coaching, and then school days, which is a phenomenal program I support. My way of doing that is speaking, training speakers.
Correct.
Because the more speakers that I raise up and help to train, and the lives that they influence is a reflection of my influence in the world. And so, I can only do so much. That's why you have to train up other people. And so I think what makes me different than other speaker coaches is like a guy like Eric Thomas,
Correct.
And I've done his program, phenomenal program. You got to do it, teach you the whole game. But he's never had to struggle with insecurity to where he didn't want to get in front of an audience and share his story. He always kind of had that Detroit confidence about himself. Even though he was, eating out of trash cans and living in abandoned buildings, phenomenal story. But from a speaking standpoint, he knew he had that one gift, you feel me? Didn't know what to do with it, learned some things along the way. But for me, I didn't even know I had the gift. People had to tell me that I should speak and I should share my story. I was so insecure in my ability to speak that I would leave the room during icebreakers so that they would skip me and I wouldn't have to share my story in front of people.
Man, what? Icebreaker's easy.
I hated how I sounded. I didn't like being in front of people. I was deeply insecure. Remember, I told you that who I was authentically as a child wasn't enough to be liked or loved by others. So I brought that insecurity into speaking. And I'm not the only one. They say fear of public speaking is America's #1 fear, that they would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. And I was no different, you feel me? And so where I feel like I'm really different is helping people to gain that confidence and learn their unique communication style and how to then turn that into a brand in the movement. So, man, I'm excited about that. And I love that I have the opportunity to share my message of mental health and high performance. And I tell people my motto is to win at all costs, except the cost of your mental health. And so, man, this has been a phenomenal interview. And I appreciate you bringing me on. It's amazing. I hope the listeners take something away, whether it's recognizing what happens to our minority communities and what keeps us stuck and how we can then change that narrative, or it's something I said about my story as an athlete, or maybe it's that you have a calling to speak or a desire to speak, and now you're like, yeah, I need to get out there and share my story because I need to focus on impact versus image. And I hope that all of this has been helpful to you. If you need anything, reach out. You can find me on Instagram @Stinson Speaks. All social media platforms, the same handle. Or you can go to my website, DarrylStinson.com. I'm sure it'll be all in the notes and everything. Rock with your boy. Remember, go out there and succeed without compromise.
And your favorite quote that you want to leave everybody?
It's one we hear. My favorite quote is one we hear all the time, but it's my favorite. It's from Marianne Williamson. I'll do just the portion that most people know, which is our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond all measure. And that for me is like, yeah, a lot of people feel like they are scared because they feel inadequate, but in reality, it's like, man, I actually am as great as I see in my heart and believe in my mind. And it's true. So don't be afraid. Shoot your shot.
Sir.
Real vibes, real shit, real stories. Come get a bite at the Lunch Meat Podcast.